So here we are today, and we're going to do some perspective drawing, which will come in handy for design work. So if you want to sort of design models for moulding, casts, and all that type of thing, these techniques will come in handy. So I'll go through 3 points of perspective, or we go for the first point, second point, and the third point, and that'll give you an idea on how the perspectives work. So we'll start from the basic one, and like I say, this comes in handy for designing models, casts, and all kinds of things, and obviously good for art and drawing also. So anyway, I'll get on with it, and we'll do the first point perspective at the start. So basically, we want to put in a horizon. So I'll use a ruler here. I think I've used this ruler with a knife, which I shouldn't have done. So there's a few bumpy areas. But anyway, I'll just draw in the horizon line. So we just do that with our pencil. We'll just put that in lightly. And now we're going to put in a vanishing point. So this is where our lines will converge with our shapes which we draw on the piece of paper. So I'll put VP there for vanishing point. Of course, when we sketch things in, we can rub the areas out that we don't want. So anyway, so this is the first point perspective, the easiest of the lot, and it gives you like basic shapes. So say for instance, if I wanted to draw a cube on the ground here, I could just sketch that in. You could do this with a ruler as well, but usually like if I want to design something myself, I'll just sketch it in and just put the vanishing point areas, vanishing point reference point there, just for reference to where you can draw your lines. So I will use a ruler here to show you what's going on. So if we want to draw a cube, so there I've just drawn the face of a square. So this will be the face of our cube, seated on the ground because we're below the horizon line. So that obviously that's the horizon line. I'll put horizon there, and we can line up these lines so they will go towards the vanishing point on each corner of the square. So if you want an idea of how it works inside, you could draw the lines which are on the reverse side of the cube, which is just one line there. And with this first point perspective, all the left hand and right hand sides are parallel, so these lines will be parallel. The vertical lines will be parallel and at a 90-degree angle. So all these lines can be drawn in straight. So the only lines, the lines that make this look 3D is of course the lines which converge at the vanishing point. So towards the back of the cube, all we need to do is draw a vertical line parallel here to the left hand side of the cube, which you can see there. And then on the top of the cube, at the back of the cube, we just run a line parallel to the top of the face of the cube. So there we are, we've got a rough basic cube there. If you want to draw one above the horizon line to see underneath the cube, we do the same thing again. We can put it anywhere we like. So we'll put a square here. And we'll do the same again, get those points aiming towards the vanishing point. We do the same again. And there we are, we have an elevated cube. or box, which is sort of like floating in the air. We can put like a lighting source here as well, as I say, we'll have the sun, which symbolises our lighting source. So if the sun was to shine on top of this bottom cube, we can like shade in the areas here where the side of the cube's not so well illuminated. I've got a blender here. Got a little blender here, so just blend that in. But maybe the face of the cube won't be so well lit either, but perhaps a bit lighter than this side of the cube. So you've got that lit up area on the top of the box there, and we can rub out these lines. And there we've got a kind of authentic looking cube. So also with the lights on this top cube, so the underside would probably be a bit darker from our sun source. And on this side also, on the left hand side of the cube. Just a lighter shade on that face there, and it would be lit on the top of the cube where we can't see, or fully lit. So that's the first point perspective. You say, for instance, if you wanted to, if you're at the kitchen table one morning with a cup of tea, you could perhaps, I don't know, maybe design yourself a candle holder. So if we want to see the top of the candle holder, we can bring it down here onto the ground. So say we just want to do like a rectangular box shape. So we just draw in a rectangle which is parallel on all sides, or you've got the two vertical points here which are parallel, and the two horizontal points here which are parallel too. So we'll pretend this is a candle holder, and we'll get our ruler out to match the corners up with the vanishing point. And we'll see where we want to go with this. I make those lines parallel to the sides. So there we are, we can rub those lines out. We've got a basic rectangle there. And if you want to find a center point to the planes, so say I want to put a hole in the top of this rectangular box, we can find a center point by drawing a cross, and then we could say put in a little circle there which could hold a tea light. So that's a center point, so that could be the wick coming out from the candle tea light. And so once you've got your basic shape in place, you could perhaps elaborate on making a design, and all the areas here. If I wanted to put, let's say we're going to engrave a little V there, so we just put a V there on the face of the candle holder, and then with these points, these will match up with the vanishing point. So, and that middle section there also, the middle of the V. And kind of just guess that there. And we can rub out these lines. And of course, imagination is your limit on what kind of designs you want to do. Once you've got your sort of basic template created by your perspective reference, if that makes any sense. And then we can perhaps put the shading in. So it'd be quite lit there on the side, perhaps a bit darker on that top of the V bit. Quite well lit on that bottom V bit, and perhaps just a slight shade there, and perhaps a bit of shading on this side of the top of the candle holder. So there we go, you just got like 2 minutes and you got basic shape and a basic candle design. And you could just use your sheet of paper. I don't know, you might want to see the underneath of the candle holder, and you could do the same up here. We'll do a similar design quickly. I'll just sketch this in without using a ruler. And get those points pointing towards the vanishing point. And we get the sides parallel to the front sides. If you want to find, say if I wanted to put the candle holder or the wick of the candle on the top there to show that it's visible, we can find the center point of the top of the candle design by putting those rear lines in, which we don't normally see. And let's join those up, and then we can see where we're going to be. So I can draw across there, just joining the corners of that top plane, and there's our center point. So the candle will be inside there somewhere. So if we just wanted a bit of the wick showing, that's where it would be shown. That's where it would be visible on the top there, and we could just rub these lines out. And there we are. We have a view of the candle holder from below. And of course we do the same again and just shade in the areas to make it look kind of more 3D. So there we are. So that's the first point perspective. It's quite handy just to come up with some quick sketches and ideas. So now we'll move on to the second point perspective. So what will happen on the second point perspective is we'll have two vanishing points. We'll have one either end of the horizon. So I'll get onto a fresh piece of paper. So we'll start off again. We'll draw a line for our horizon point. And we'll put a vanishing point here. So we'll call that VP1. We'll put a vanishing point at the other end. We'll call that VP2. So this will give you more of a authentic looking perspective, and you see sides of more sides or different angles and all that sort of thing. So I'll show you as we go through here. So what I'm going to do here is draw a straight line. So this will be on the ground. And there's only the vertical lines here will be parallel, and we'll use the two vanishing points to create the other sides of the image. So we're going to start here with a box again. So we've drawn our line in, So on one side of the box, we'll just join those lines out, which are going towards the vanishing point 1. And then for the other side, we will join up with vanishing point 2. So we've got that side in place there. We'll find out where we want to end our box. I mean, you can measure these out to be more accurate, but in this video we're just kind of guess it to roughly where we want to be, because this video is really designed for sort of sketching your ideas and all that sort of thing. So anyway, so we put our vertical points in here, parallel. As you can see, it's coming together, and we've got these points of the box here. This side will match up with vanishing point 1, and the other side will match up with vanishing point 2. So there we are, that gives us our box there, seated on the ground. So we could pretend maybe this is a garden area. Let's do that. We'll pretend this is a garden area, and maybe we want to design a pillar for the garden, a concrete pillar. But first of all, just like we'll put our light source up here again, symbolised by the sun. So this side of the plane will be, or this plane will be a bit darker than the other two planes. So the top of the box will be well lit by the light source, and maybe the front of the box in between the lights of the top of the box and the shadow on the other side of the box. Well, maybe we might want to put some shadows in as well, so bear in mind, if we've got our light source here, we could use our ruler to go from the light source to create kind of a representation of a shadow. Just use those lines there. Oops. And perhaps just put a bit of shading in there for a shadow. You can do that on the first point perspective, the way you do them on all of the perspectives. So there we are, got some kind of basic shadow there. See, once you've got all these points in place, you know, you don't really have to think about it. All the work's done for you, and it's just a matter of sort of matching up your lines with your points of reference. Right, so say if this is a garden. Oh, I'll show you another thing as well. I lost my pencil. I've dropped my pencil on the floor. Say, for instance, I don't know, we might want to put a little roof on the top of this box here. So, like in the first point perspective, we'll find our center point, and we'll do that by joining up those corner points to get finding that center point. And we can go up with a vertical line, and then all we do is we go up as far as we want to, wherever you want, and then join up the lines corresponding with the corners of the cube. And there we are, you've got a roof on top of your box there. You rub those rear lines out, and again we could perhaps shade in these areas to give it more of an authentic 3D look. So we'll do that. And just subtly do that on the top pyramid plane. And you could draw pyramids as well, you could do anything you like, you know, sky's the limit, really. So we'll pretend this is a garden area and we want to design a basic pillar. So we'll put a line here for the pillar, and we're going to use both below the horizon and above the horizon to create a what would be the word, a nice authentic looking 3D pillar, just a basic box pillar. So here we go. So drawing that center line, we join up those the side lines of the reference vanishing points. And this side also. And right, let's just get the basic pillar in first of all. So rub those lines out a little bit. Perhaps we want a base on this pillar also, and a top. Just got to guess at these lines. You can measure these out perfectly if you want to, but we're just kind of sketching this in. Those vertical lines in there where the pillar base is, and then we do the same again with the base, or right at the bottom of the base there. We could do the same on the top. Do the same again, just get those vertical lines in place. Line up those vanishing point lines. And there we are, we have a basic pillar there. So we can rub out the lines we don't want. And of course, once you've got these, once you've got the basic information in your head on how to do this, you can just get a piece of paper, put your vanishing points in, and just sketch away, type of thing. You know, like if I want to put a, I don't know, pillar at a distance there, let's say, just sketch it in. kind of go towards that vanishing point at the other end. Vanishing point there. Vanishing point there. And there we are, we have kind of like a little pillar in the background also. So that's how I would do it if I was like just sketching something out instead of like being ultra technical with the ruler sort of thing. If you just want to like jot some ideas down quickly. All right. Anyway, back to this main pillar. We're rubbing the lines out. Get rid of those lines we don't want to see. And now we can shade in the areas just to make it look a little bit more 3D and perhaps more authentic. So the top here will be lit, but maybe around this area not so much. With our light source we can kind of guess where the shadows are going to be. Somebody use my ruler then. That's no wrong. Shade in these areas. And there we are, there's a quick pillar, basic pillar design, which took 2 or 3 minutes to draw, sketch in. So that's a 2-point perspective. Also, like the same as what we did in the first point perspective, we could maybe see underneath an object. So we just sketch one in here. So this obviously, this will be a box above the horizon line here. Just quickly sketch those lines in. And there we have kind of a floating cube just like sketched out there. Probably the lines aren't so accurate there. I just hide it out. See there, that top one should come in about there. But when you're sketching, you only want sort of like to do it quick. Maybe sometimes if you've got an idea in your head that you want to get out straight away, it's quite handy. So there we are. You can like do, say if you wanted to do a cylindrical pillar, you could do the same here. Maybe find these center points, and you could kind of roughly draw a circle in there. There's a mathematical way of doing this. You could measure it out properly. Kind of rough in a circle there, sketching purposes, bring those lines down. And perhaps we'll do a bit of a base here as well, just to give an idea what this might look like. Or what that centre line doing. Lines aren't too straight there. So there we are, we've got that cylinder in with a top and a base, and then perhaps we could just put some shading in there to make that kind of look a little bit more cylindrical. So there's another basic pillar design there with like kind of a cylindrical middle. Right, so that's pretty much it really. This is the perspective I would probably use the most, the second point perspective with the two vanishing points. There is a third one which I don't use very often, but it's handy to know because it's like very authentic. That's right. So this is the third point perspective, and you have 3 vanishing points. So this kind of gives you like architects and technical illustrators, they use this perspective. So we get a horizon line in, and we put a vanishing point at either end. So we've got VP1, VP2. So where we've got the horizon line here, we will put another point in, which will either be the zenith point or the nadir point. So zenith above the horizon, nadir below the horizon. So we'll put a nadir point here. So this will be VP3. And you want to bear in mind, you want to put your objects, draw your objects inside the triangle or the imaginary triangle which these vanishing points create. So we'll draw a cube here, so there's no parallel surfaces, so we're going to use vanishing points for each side of the object that we're going to draw. So in this case we'll draw a cube. So we'll do the side, we'll use a ruler for this one. So that's the side of our cube. Like with this, with the third point perspective, you can kind of like draw rotating objects and aerial view objects, plus like looking up at objects and all that sort of thing. It's like a very realistic perspective, whereas the first 2 perspectives are more sort of like a representation of perspective, although they still give you show a like realistic look, if that makes any sense. Right, so we've got this side here, and we're going to draw a cube, and we're going to try and make sure that we keep it inside this triangle. I hope you can like pick out what I'm saying in this video. It is a relatively simple concept, but it does take a bit of explaining, and I don't think I can explain things in the best way at all times, as you probably know if you're a subscriber to this channel. Anyway, let's get on with it. Right, so we've got a side here, this bottom edge, we're going to go towards that vanishing point 1. The same with the top edge here. And now we want to join this side up with the vanishing point 3. And we'll do the same on the other side. So there we have some kind of, we could be in the air looking at this object here. So this could be, I don't know, it could be a skyscraper or something like that. Maybe. I think it might look a bit stretched actually, so perhaps we'll bring these vanishing points in a little bit closer. So So this could be VP1, VP2, and we'll cross that out because we're not using that as a reference point anymore, and we're not using this triangle reference, so we'll just push that in a bit more. This will be our new triangle. And we'll do the same again. So I think I'll rub this one out. So do the same thing again. I thought that would look a bit stretched, so we'll draw the same thing with the triangle condensed a little bit more, or compressed a bit more, shortened. Right, so that's a side of our object, and we'll do exactly the same again. So there we are, that looks a little bit more realistic than the last one where I've pulled in vanishing point 1 and vanishing point 2. So yeah, there we are, that could be a pillar in the garden, a skyscraper, or whatever you want it to be for your design work. Like I said, I don't really use the third point very often. Should practice more on it really. But it is good looking. It's like a very effective vanishing point method. Third point. It looks very realistic. Right. So that would have been the nadir area. If we wanted to say, I don't know, look at an object in the sky, we just do the same again, except it's the same vanishing point. This will be vanishing point 3. So this could replace this one here, and this will be our zenith point. So yeah, if we wanted an aerial object, we just do the same thing again. We'll draw a little triangle. And perhaps we'll have a floating concrete pillar. So stick a line in there. To get these angles sorted out. Oops, dodgy part of the ruler there. So there we are, we've got some kind of floating object, perhaps a stumpy pillar. I said it was going to be a pillar, but it's kind of like a stumpy object. I mean, there is a bit of maths involved if you want to get these totally accurate. You really want the measurements to be correct, but if you're sketching just for ideas, this is pretty handy. Maybe in a later video, if people are interested in this type of thing, I'll go into a more in-depth perspective video with proper measurements and maths and all that sort of thing. Maths isn't my strongest subject, but it's, well, I should say mental arithmetic. I'm terrible at mental arithmetic, but most of it's all formulaic, so pretty much once you've got it in your head, it's pretty straightforward. It's like anything in it, the more practice you do, the more it gets lodged into your head and it becomes more natural to sort of work things out. Right, so yeah, like with the aerial perspective as well, so if I want, I don't know, I might want to put a tip on this object, whatever it is, and we could do the same again with, so line up with that VP3 at the top, our zenith vanishing point. So I've got a line there, and perhaps we could put a kind of pyramid tip on the end of that square object in the first place, and then we can just join those lines up there. Oops, off centre there. And there we are, we have some kind of geometric shape floating in the sky. Like I say, so the imagination's your limit. This is pretty much just the basics of using perspective. The vanishing point 3 is the third point. Sorry, I should say the third point perspective. Sorry, is the hardest to get your head around because each line has its own destination. You know, as in like the 3 vanishing points. Whereas, let's go back to the second point. You can use, it's kind of easier to use these vertical lines as your reference because they all share the same vertical 90-degree reference point, and the only lines which share their own unique destination are these areas here, you know, your side points, diagonals, which meet up with the vanishing points, the 2 vanishing points in this case. So I would suggest this one for sketching, you know, where you're at a table or whatever, unless you want to design skyscrapers and things like that, and floating objects, which is quite handy sometimes. And, well, start off with if anybody's not done this before, just start off with the first point perspective with just 1 vanishing point, which obviously gives you good effects as well, or good results. So there we are. So first, second, third point perspectives. So I hope that's helped. I hope that's made sense. I mean, I've tried to avoid technical terms in this video, but there's some words you can't avoid, and like I say, it's relatively simple, but it's complicated all at the same time, if that makes any sense. But it's well worth learning these methods, or the perspective method. So anyway, hope that helped, and if you want any more drawing videos, I'm going to do another drawing video soon for Susie, so we'll perhaps do some shading and some sketching, and even that could come in handy for design work also. So anyway, I'm waffling on as usual, so thanks for watching, and over and out for now.